This is a Heart and Hand production. Hello everyone, it's David here with an update. Breaking news, Russell Martin has agreed terms with Rangers, and barring any unforeseen last minute hiccups, he will be the new boss at Rangers, arriving on a 3-year deal. Martin will sign. Only hints so far about his backroom team. It does appear he'll bring people who've worked with him before, but also Maurice Ross, who has previously, of course, played for Rangers. But he may well be involved in the coaching setup. Now, we've known, I think, for a few days now that Martin seemed to be the preferred candidate. It looks as though David Ancelotti was very much in the hunt at the start of the week, but looks as though he wants to go to Como. And that's unfortunately the pool of a top 5 league and money to spend. Como have got a lot of investment with their manager Cesc Fabregas departing to go to Inter to replace the Inter coach Simone Inzaghi, who's off to Saudi. So the merry-go-round kicking in there. I've been honest about this, and I will continue to be. Russell Martin would not have been my choice. I was not impressed with what he did at Southampton last season. He was very, very dogmatic. He stuck to his way of playing, even though it was clear that it wouldn't work at Southampton. And I think as a neutral and as someone who is, just watches that league, I think when you see something like that, a manager coming up from the Championship, he's not the first, by the way, he won't be the last who did this, who came up from the Championship and said, no, I'm not changing the way I'm playing, and then they get their arse handed to them. And it happened to him, happened to Vincent Kompany the year before, happened to Daniel Farke, who was at Leeds there. The jump is too big and you can't do it. You can only hope he's learned from that experience, because there's nothing wrong with having principles in football, but I think when it goes into dogmatism, then you're in bother. And I think that we have seen that from various managers down there with Russell Martin. His style is very much dominate possession, high press to win it back, and that's something that we've got to hope that we see. Southampton shipped a lot of goals last season by playing out from the back when they just simply didn't have the players who had the ability to do that, and clearly that is a worry for us. We saw that with Warburton. It's all right having great football ideals, but if you don't have the players to put them into place, then you're going to struggle. And that's exactly what happened to Russell Martin at Southampton. So I think he has to be a bit more pragmatic when he comes up here. That said, I do want a Rangers manager who wants to dominate opposition sides. I want a Rangers manager who wants to go out there and press our superiority over them. I want a Rangers team that's a hell of a lot fitter than it's looked recently. One that can press and can do so for 90 minutes. One that can win the ball back quickly when it loses it and get on the front foot again. One that's attacking and looking to score goals. One of the kind of comparisons I would say is I can see why they've gone for him, is it's similar to Daniel Farke and what he's done at Leeds. And it's a very similar career path, a manager who took a side up into the Premier League, playing really good football, got battered, went back down. He then re-established himself at Leeds, where they've been very good for a couple of seasons, missed out on promotion narrowly the year before and then lost out in the playoffs to Russell Martin's Southampton actually, and then last season were very, very good indeed and good to watch, and I want us to play football that way, and clearly that's the way that the new owners want us to play as well. That's the style they favour, and Martin will, I'm sure, need to convince them, well, has convinced them, but will need to convince us that that's what we're going to witness, that he can bring to Rangers. He'll need backed with players. It doesn't matter who we bring in if we don't have the players. But also, if you want to play a certain way, you need players who can play that way. Players who are fit, fast, strong, able to go 90 minutes. And there are different challenges about playing in Scotland. Now, Russell Martin, of course, had a spell with us. Didn't last very long, and he was bloody awful when he was here. There's no doubt about it. But what it hopefully has done is given him an insight into the kind of club we are, what we need, what exactly are the key points, really, of being Rangers. what are the key things that you're going to face. He'll know, or you would hope he would know, teams raise their game against us. Just because a team isn't very good doesn't mean you're not in for a difficult match against them. That's not the case when you're at Ibrox. It's very, very much a case of having to be on the front foot all the time, because if you're off it in any way, then you're going to struggle. A thing I've really hated the last couple of years watching Rangers, particularly last season, is we struggled against sides because they outfought us, because they outworked us, because they outran us. I cannot handle that at all, because if you're beaten by a side because you're dominant but you can't score, the keeper is a worldie, and they hit you, with a breakaway or whatever, that can happen. But Rangers were soundly beaten too often last season. You think of the games at home to the likes of Motherwell or the likes of St Mirren, where we couldn't come off the field saying that we'd been unlucky. We hadn't been. We'd been beaten by sides that were better, hungrier, wanted it more, and that has to stop at Rangers. That cannot be the case moving forward. Doesn't matter what your football ideologies is, you've got to start off with that. We need to have a side that's fitter, better and stronger than the rest. But if they're not prepared to do the work, forget it. We're not going to get anywhere. And that's what we've witnessed last season. Now, the reaction to Russell Martin coming in has been very negative. There's no doubt about that. And you can debate about whether or not you think that should be the case, but it doesn't change the fact that it is. It's just a hypothetical otherwise. Russell Martin is coming in to a very, very difficult situation in terms of the fact that the support is not going to give him a honeymoon. That's the reality of the situation. Now, he must know that, so clearly it's something he thinks he can overcome. But he has to know that he's coming in and he will be judged instantly. I did a show with Martin from the Rabble earlier tonight, and one of the viewers said, I'll give him 10 games before I judge, and I joked, but it was only a half joke. 10 games, that's a hell of a lot more than most will give him. That's the reality of being at Rangers, though. Whether it's fair or not is absolutely irrelevant. You're at Rangers, these are the circumstances, this is what you need to do, go and do it. Don't complain about it. This is the job you've taken on, the job you wanted, the job you applied for, and it's not going to change. Rangers have got to be better. He's got to get off to a positive start. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. I would say that some of the criticism I find a little odd, with people saying, that's me, I'm done, I'm not going back when he's there, I'll wait till he's sacked and stuff like that. I don't really understand that. I think that some of the reaction has been as if we were hiring a guy off the street. This is a manager who has got promoted at the Championship, which is a tough league, before. He's failed in the Premier League, there's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's a guy who is a complete no-hope or a complete idiot. And some of the reaction, you would think that that's the case. What always happens in these situations is there's the reaction and then there's a counter reaction, and then you get people who are either naturally contrary or they see some of the hyperbole that's used and they go, do you know what, right, that's way over the top, I'm on this guy's side. I think we all have to be on this guy's side, because like it or lump it, he's going to be our manager, and we have to come to peace with that, and we have to come to terms with that, whether we think it's the right decision or whether we don't. We've got to get behind him, and I think everybody will. And to be honest, I think that he's more likely to win people over with victories than he is with anything else. Clearly, this is what the owners want. Now, they know the reaction, they know the views of the fans, and they've gone ahead and done it anyway. And I think that is something that we are going to have to get used to as a support, because I think over the last couple of years, for good or for bad, the people who were in charge at Rangers did take into account fan reaction. I don't think that's going to happen for much longer. I think that they're going to do the right thing. As I say, he wouldn't have been my choice. But what does give me hope is my choices the last few times have been honking. Awful. God awful. I've got so much wrong you wouldn't believe. When it came down to Clement and Muscat, I wanted Clement. So, big one wrong there. I thought Beale would do a good job. Got that one wrong as well. I thought Gio was a brilliant appointment. Got that one wrong as well. So I'm actually taking some comfort in how useless I have been at picking a winner when it comes to Rangers, and hoping the fact that I don't think this guy will be the right choice for us turns out to be massively wrong. And you know me, if you listen to this site a lot, then you'll know that I have no problem holding my hands up and saying I was wrong. I'm not going to now go into this season looking for reasons to say, I was right, he's the wrong man for the job. In fact, I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to go into a season looking for reasons to say, he is going to do a good job. Doesn't mean that he won't get judged. As I say, if we're sitting out of Europe 10 points behind Celtic come November, he'll be under the same pressure as any other manager would be, and he would deserve to be. That's fair and that's real. But he's here now, and we need to wish him all the best, because if he succeeds, we succeed. And that's the thing we all want at Rangers. So good luck, Russell Martin. You're going to need it, but prove us all wrong and leave us with a legacy and leave us with a lot of humble pie to eat over the upcoming season. More on this tomorrow, folks. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.
That was a Heart and Hand production.